Good afternoon, Dr. Kadashi. Today I'm gonna talk about the historical figure who is very important to me and my country. And his name is Anastasio Aquino. And he was a leader in El Salvador during 1830s. As someone from El Salvador, I grew up hearing stories about the king of the Nanualcos. And I chose him because his life represents the struggle for justice that many people still face today. But he wasn't a politician or a rich man from the city. He was a farmer who stood up for his community. To me, he was a symbol of courage, and he reminds me too that my people is strong, and he reminds me my original roots too. But what is the historical background and why Aquino fought? We have to look what happened in El Salvador before, like in 1833. At that time, the country was very poor. The life for indigenous people was very difficult, and the main business was indigo, a plant used to make blue dye, while the landowner got rich. The indigenous workers were treated almost like slaves, and the government was constantly at war. They forced young men to join the army, and they leave families without fathers or sons to work the land. But what was the breaking point? The government started demanding even more taxes, and literally people had nothing left to live with. And for Aquino, it became personal when his own brother was literally mistreated by the authorities. Aquino decided that he couldn't stay quiet, and he organized a big a strike with thousands of people from Nonualco, literally where I was from. They fought for the land. I still remember that every day walking to my school in El Salvador, there was a statue of Anastasio Aquino in the middle of the park, and that always remind me that we are like people. He wasn't perfect, but he fought for the community and for indigenous people. Instead of a criminal, we see as a we see him as a hero. To be honest, yeah, that's one of the main reasons I wanted to do this podcast too, because in many books it says that he is a violent rebel or criminal, but the only thing that he did was fought for his people. When his army took the city of San Vicente, Aquino did something very famous. And he entered to the church and placed the crown on his own head. Yeah. Many people thought that this was just an act of pride, but this was really a powerful message for the government. He was literally telling the government that if you won't respect us like we respect you and ourselves, uh, we're gonna have to take the land over again, because this is ours, and this is we were here before. And also he also created like a code of laws. These laws were very strict but fair, and he punished to protect women from abuse. Also, and he even tried to stop people from drinking too much alcohol. He was he was smart. Also, he wanted that his people to be disciplined and proud. But yeah, he wasn't just starting a fight. He was trying to build a better society from the poor. But the way he did was a little violent because he did a lot of stuff and attacked the army. But yeah, it was because he wanted for his people. My father and me always walk in the park where the statue of Anastasia Kino was. And he used to tell me, he used to say to me that, you see, him? He's like you. My dad said, he's, he's ugly like you. He's strong like you. He's from here like you. So, what is the difference between you and him to fight for what you want? My father was wise, to be honest, but I was a kid. I was like, huh? But yeah, I still remember that. And I still like how he boiled the story for me instead of just tell me, if you really want something, just fight for it and be violent. No. I was just, if you really want something, you gotta do whatever you have to do to achieve your goal. It doesn't matter that if you're hurt or something else. Obviously, in a in a safe space, a safe zone. Don't be too crazy. But yeah, he used to tell me that he was one of the best persons, best leaders in Santiago Nonualco. But no one is perfect. And here are some of the rules that he made for the government he wanted to create. Then the laws of the Nonualcos. Article 1. Who commits murder shall pay with life for life. If you kill someone, you will get murdered too. The Article 2 says that anyone who wounds another will have their hand cut off. This was very strict, and it stopped the violence in the street. Social protection. He decreed that debt could not be inherited. Before this, if a father died owing money to a landlord, the son became slave to pay it off. And Aquino abolished this. Also, the religious protection. Even though he fought the state, he protected the priests and the churches, which is why people trust him more than the government. To be honest, he really cared about people, but the way he wanted to do it wasn't the best. After a big, I think it's the main event after the Vicente thing with the crown, when Aquino was in Santiago Nonualco and he fought against the army, but the government was very strong and they have enough resources to beat them, to defeat them. And Anastasio Aquino ran away. He was hiding in the mountains, but one day he came back to Santiago Nonualco, and they took him to prison. And in July 1833, they decided to execute him, and he walked to his death with his head held high even at the end, he didn't beg for mercy. They shoot him, and as we say as a Salvadorian, lo balacearon. A lot of bullets, um, no mercy. But the worst thing is that literally they cut off his head and they put it in a metal cage on a hill. And they wanted to scare Salvadorian people. They wanted to say, don't even try this again. But Salvadorian, but as a Salvadorian, I can tell you that it didn't work. They killed a man, but they made the legend stronger. Today, we remember the names of the people who killed him, but every child in El Salvador knows the name of Anastasio Aquino. Every person. He reminds us that indigenous people is strong, and we deserve respect. Yeah, but he literally was called El Rey de los Nonualcos, the king of the Nonualcos. But what happened after that was very sad. After the execution, the extermination begins. First, we have the repression. The government began a pacification process. This meant killing everyone suspect of being an Onualco rebel. Yeah. And many native people, many indigenous people stopped talking in their indigenous language because they didn't want it to be killed, and they stopped wearing their traditional clothes too. A cultural silence. We used to call the Great Silence El Gran Silencio because no one was able to raise the voice and fight for our community and our rights again until 1932, 100 years later. Something was happening. Feliciano Ama and Farabundo Martin knew the story of Anastasio Aquino, and they tried to convince the farmers and indigenous people to revolt against the injustice to the former coffee industry. But what really happened? After 1833, the government created military forces more moderated to watch for indigenous people. And with the laws that changed, communities lost a lot of land, and literally people was having problem with the daily day, and they didn't even have time to organize another war. But was the really sad story of them. Around 10,000 to 30,000 indigenous people die. But it didn't really do nothing at that time. But it's now that I remember where we're from, what are we fighting for, and that we have to really appreciate our freedom right now and keep learning from the present to improve our future and for future generations. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.